Proceed.
LC 0008974/2, please, Mr. Speaker.
Whip Filippi moves amendment LC 0008997/2. That is seconded by Representative Nunes, Leader Morgan, Representative Quattrochi, Representative Mendoza, Representative Giarrusso, Representative Roberts. Proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this amendment does is it essentially eliminates the game that's played every year or every couple of years where we kind of try and figure out what our minimum wage should be without really an in-depth economic analysis. This ties our minimum wage after this increase that we're going to do in 2018 and 2019. It ties it to the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index is a figure developed by the federal government looking at a basket of goods to determine what the actual increase in the cost of living is. This would permanently tie our minimum wage to the CPI so we don't have to go through this every year, and also so we can give our businesses some predictability. I'm pretty sure that the the 90 cents that we're proposing to increase our minimum wage from 2016 to 2019 is greater than the rate of inflation. If our businesses knew that the minimum wage would increase according to inflation every year, they could plan. They could have some predictability. Right now, there's none. They don't know what the General Assembly is going to do every year. You just kind of pick a number. And we say, that sounds good. But to my knowledge, there really hasn't been any in-depth analysis in the state of Rhode Island as to what the rate of inflation is or what the real inflation rate is in this state. We just look around, we find a number, and we say, you know what, that sounds good. That should be our minimum wage. To that end, Mr. Speaker, could I ask the chairman of Labor a question, please?
If he will yield, it's not his bill, but if ask the question, and I'm going to make a decision on whether it's appropriate.
I will, Mr. Speaker, and it won't be a colloquy, I assure you. There was a minimum wage bill before the House Labor Committee this year. That's
an inappropriate question.
Okay.
Ask him a specific question that is substantive.
During the hearings on the minimum wage bill, was there any economic analysis from an economist as to what the inflation rate is in the state of Rhode Island?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I think that proves the point, Mr. Speaker, is that the minimum wage that we pick, it really isn't tied to an economic analysis about what the cost of living increase in the state of Rhode Island is, and that should dictate what the increase in our minimum wage is a true economic analysis, and that's what the CPI is. The Consumer Price Index is developed by the federal government to analyze the cost of living increase, and I think we need to tie our minimum wage to it. Let's do this increase, let's play this game one more time, and then be done with it. Tie it to minimum wage, and then next year we could have, or 2 years from now, we could have one less article to debate. Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Regenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong opposition to this amendment. The minority whip discussed the need to be, making our decisions based on an economic analysis. But this amendment is proposing tying the minimum wage from now on to a number that, as far as I know, there's no economic analysis saying that the rate at which you want to tie the CPI increases to is the right number for working families in our state, for our economy. And so to me this seems like making a final decision based on no economic analysis. So I rise in strong opposition, but I look forward to increasing the minimum wage after voting down this amendment. Thank you.
Whip Filippi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I can assure the body that the CPI is developed by economists based on real data. Now, nothing would prevent us in a couple of years from increasing the minimum wage again, and then that increase would be tied to the CPI. What this does is it takes the pressure off us. We do these increases. We know that in 2020, if we don't do another increase, that there will still be an increase. In 2021, if we don't do an increase, there will still be an increase. Nothing would prevent any person from putting in a bill saying, you know what, that baseline we're going to increase, and then the increase that we do would be subject to the CPI. This is a smart bill. It really is. I don't see how anyone could be opposed to it, especially people who want an increase for our working families, because this guarantees them an increase. But what it also does is gives predictability. And that's what we need. When you're opening a business, running a business, you need to be able to forecast 5 years out, 10 years out. What are our expenses going to be? What are they going to be? You know what? Someone plans, and then guess what the General Assembly does? 2 years later, we pick a number and we say, you know what? 1050 sounds good this year, and you blow up someone's balance sheet. I believe this is what Florida does, and it makes a lot of sense down there. Their economy is booming. And I respectfully suggest that we should adopt some of the policies of our sister states that have gotten it right. And Florida has. I want to guarantee a minimum wage increase every year to people, and I want to guarantee businesses some predictability in what their expenses are going to be. I don't see how anyone could be opposed to this.